All right, Bulls and Bears, we're back, and things are looking like they're about ready to get serious. And some people are already laughing right now because it's already gotten serious for them with the amount of people that are so in difficult times right now financially. People are saying, this whole crisis started years ago, which for many it has, but a lot of people are still not believing that there's any sort of economic crisis developing or even happening right now because they haven't felt it themselves. And also, a lot of the same people that are feeling it really don't think that it's something big. They think that living paycheck to paycheck is just how that it's supposed to be because they're used to it. They grew up on it, right? People in their 20s and 30s, that's how they've always known things is just to be terribly expensive since the housing bubble recovered in the early 2010s, and now we have the median home price above 400,000. Well, it's about ready to get worse, and the number of people living paycheck to paycheck, well, that number just got worse, and the amount of empty shelves and the cost we're paying is about ready to get worse. We're going to get into the tariff thing here, more predictions of empty shelves, starvation, food banks running out of food. And again, this is not me saying this. It's just what's being reported, what people are saying. And let's just put it all together, try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and try to figure out, is this really going to happen like people are saying and like many reports are saying? Or is this just a big fear-mongering campaign, right? I've been telling you for years to prepare, so I don't think anyone in here on this channel is even remotely surprised or shocked if this does play out like they're saying it's going to play out here. But let's go ahead and start right here, people. Now, there's some stories out there about Amazon that they were planning on putting tariff pricing on their products. In other words, show the regular price and then show the upcharge because of tariffs, right? So the White House didn't like that. They didn't like that because that would have been 100% blame for that extra cost. Would have been made very clear if that were to happen. Amazon is not planning to break out tariff costs as White House attacks potential move. So now they're saying that that was never being discussed or talked about being implemented. Amazon says it's not planning to display added tariff costs on the products on the site, despite a report that sparked speculation that the e-commerce giant would soon show new import charges. And the White House's fiery comments denounced the purported change. Of course, that would have made the administration look bad if that would have been implemented. So now they're saying that they're not going to do it. The speculation is that they were going to do it, but then the pressure from the White House made them change their mind and not do it and not have the tariff added pricing placed into the product page, the cost. I think that would have been nice. It would have been transparency. If the numbers were accurate, it would have been nice to see how much of a markup because of the tariffs. I think that would have been great, but of course, there's certain people out there and certain groups that don't want that to happen because it makes them look bad. You guys know how that works. And we're being told, and we're going to play some reports here in a bit, we're being told that this is really going to hit the fan here in the next few weeks. Well, when you look at the time frame, just like we said, when the tariffs were implemented, it's going to take a few months to play out. I think we still have at least a few more weeks until we start seeing more widespread empty shelves. And I don't think it's going to be a massive empty shelf situation because not everything is imported. A lot is, but not everything. And the truth is we don't have much infrastructure here to be self-reliant here in the U.S. And we're about ready to see if and how much self-reliant we are actually at. Sorry, thought I had to sneeze. Port of Los Angeles says shipping volume will plummet 35% next week. So if you believe this report, we have a week before we really start seeing a noticeable difference in all this. It's a precipitous drop in volume with the number of American retailers stopping all shipments from China based on the tariffs. Shipments from China make up about 45% of the business for the port, though some transport companies will be looking to pick up goods at other points in Southeast Asia to try to fill up their ships instead. Data on shipments out of China have already started to signal slowing trade volume into the U.S., alarming some economists. All right, and I'm not putting this out here to panic. Just like all the reports, it showed the detail with the amount of items we get from China. If there was some sort of disruption, we saw 2020 what happened, obviously. But this could be a whole new ballgame, folks, because the cost of living is already elevated. We haven't even retraced half of what we saw as far as the price rises, the high cost of living since 2020. And now it's about ready to get kicked into another level of inflation here as far as we can see. And we're not going to be bringing jobs back very quickly. We've talked about here many times about how long it would take to bring the jobs back, all the infrastructure, all the buildings, hiring the workforce. Now, the company's having to pay workers here much more than they do in these other countries because the cost of living is already so high that people are going to demand higher wages. And we see record strikes in 2024 because people need higher wages, right? So it's a huge mess, folks, and all of this had to be unraveled at some point. But it looks like this could be the beginning of the crisis, and it's not going to be a crash, a deflationary crisis where the housing bubble goes bust and prices go half price. No, it's going to be an inflationary crisis, which is the worst kind of crisis. A deflationary crisis is bad because a lot of people lose their jobs, but there's a little bit of a sunny side because things become more affordable. Now we're going to see massive job losses, but prices continue to go higher is what it looks like. And don't just take my word for it. Take a look at some of the reports here. I'm going to talk about a few things here.
says it will be cutting 20,000 jobs because of an uncertain economy. The shipping giant also plans to close dozens of facilities by the end of June. UPS says the cuts and closures are because of a slowdown in shipping due to the fallout from the trade war. The company anticipates weaker volumes from Amazon, which is its largest customer.
I'm going to try to record this.
All right, more Amazon fallout, people.
This is like the third time without being interrupted. So I was listening to Hassan like this morning about the empty shelves and that the ports are going to be empty coming soon. And he was calling it the tsunami. And he's not joking when he says that. Because if you look at it, once those last cargo ships come, that's it. It's done. Once they get to store shelves, that is it. And the fact that this is being compared worse than COVID is scary as shit. There's going to be so much job loss, that job growth that our Trump keeps on touting, and the fact that the first people that are going to get laid off are your transportation people. So it's going to be like your trucking industry, your FedEx, your UPS, your people that work on the ports laid off. And then eventually people in the automotive industry will be laid off. And then it'll trickle down to your retail and your...
I think he's right, folks. I told you it was going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Even things that are manufactured here in the U.S., we need so many of the parts and components from overseas. It's going to make these factories still go idle, right? Even if they don't intend to, it's going to make them go idle here. But let's just go ahead and continue.
Fast food and restaurants. Yeah, dude, this is a scary time. And I'm trying to keep calm in this, but I know the outcome that's going to be probably, because I remember COVID and those grocery store shelves were crazy and the prices were insane. And the fact like we're going to that path, if not worse, is more crazy.
All right, people, you get the point. So could this be even worse than the price increases that we saw during the health crisis 2020, 2021, 22, which was the peak of inflation? Inflation started coming down, but prices still rising. It just means inflation coming down just means prices are still going up, just at a slower pace, which is still not good when prices are already too high. So I talked about that here many times ad nauseum to try to get people to understand that, because a lot of people seem to not really understand that slowing inflation is not prices coming down. It just means prices are still going up at a slower level. But let's talk about, or let's listen to a few other people before we talk about what else I wanted to get into today and what we need to look out for here. And what could very well happen is people are going to start shopping locally more, farmers markets, especially if the price of food at the stores goes up. It's going to make the farmers markets look a lot more attractive, where people just bring in food that they've grown locally, your neighbors, people in your neighborhood. And typically these farmers markets are pretty high priced because it's organic food, so people have to work very hard to grow the food organically, and it's hard for them to compete with all these stores selling, all this other junk and other food. So they have to raise their prices. But this could reignite some sort of local food and maybe even some other bartering type of thing. We'll have to see, right? But we've never really seen what we're about to see. We've never seen this scenario. But let's listen to a couple more people kind of explain what's happening with the shipments, with ports, and all this stuff, the slowdowns happening right now here.
Port of Seattle is empty and there's no more ships coming in. The last ship is coming in today, and I just saw it when I was walking my dog. This is the Marine Traffic app. I use it when I do boat deliveries so you can tell which way cargo ships are going and how fast they are going. The cargo ships are the green arrows and the green squares. There is 4 green squares. Those are international ships. The one arrow down below me, that's an American ship. And this one above me, that is the last ship that's coming in. This is what Vancouver, Canada's ports look like. Look at the amount of cargo ships that are here. This is what Seattle should look like. This right here is the last ship that's coming in. I saw it when I was walking my dog. That's the ship right there. Shelves in stores are going to be bare in a few weeks, and it's going to last a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks. And even if he does something before that, those ships take weeks to get here. Be prepared as much as you can. And you can download the Marine Traffic app for free, and you can check on the cargo ships yourself.
Yeah, I think I've showed that a couple times here on this channel. If this is reversed, the tariffs are called off. Like she said, it's not going to be instant. There's still going to be the several weeks where the ships that resume have to make it across the water, get unloaded, make it to the shelves. So again, I'm saying, don't panic over this. I've been doing this for years. You might want to get a few extra things if you're at the store. Canned goods, things that'll last you a while. That way, if this thing doesn't drop into the deep, dark territory that some people are thinking it will, then you're not going to have to eat a bunch of food because it's going to go bad. You're going to have stuff you can keep on the shelf for hopefully years. And, but let's get into a couple other things here real quick. And before we get more into that, though, folks, think about all the people that have lost their jobs, all these federal workers, the people that are going to lose their jobs because of all the cuts happening. And now on top of this, no supplies, no business. So how many stores are going to close or maybe even temporarily close because they don't have supplies? And what kind of screeching halt, this is going to bring the economy to? Will people be able to pay their rents, pay their mortgages? Will there be more forbearance that's going to have to get pushed out there just like 2020? Maybe even stimulus checks again. We heard about possible rebate checks, what they were calling them back then, back in, was that March? Where they were saying because of all the audits and stuff happening, there's going to be a bunch of money sent out. I told you that was very unlikely to happen because that would cause a big spike in inflation because all this money being spent in the economy drives prices up, as we've learned many times over the course of history, even recent history. Even since 2020, we've learned that. And a couple other things here, folks. Look at the number that just got worse. The number of people living paycheck to paycheck. We have another number that's actually higher than average. And we typically see like 68 to 72% in these surveys and studies that talk about how many people are living paycheck to paycheck. And this comes out of this report from Study Finds young workers ready to quit, burnout, and pay concerns driving exodus. 74% of employees surveyed admit currently living paycheck to paycheck. So we see this number creeping up over the years. And who knows, by the end of this year, is it going to be 80%? Is it going to be 85%? Is it going to be 90%? I mean, that's how bad it is. Getting people just living off credit cards now. We also have food banks, folks, reporting empty shelves And here's just some of the recent headlines here. After the cuts, food banks scrounge and scrimp. Federal cuts gut food banks as they face record demand. So as more people need food, food banks have the lowest amount of food that they've had in a very long time. USDA set to cut $1 billion for food programs. Washington food banks are worried, and on and on and on, folks. And again, this is something that had to happen eventually because food is not infinite. It has to be grown, it has to be shipped, it has to be everything else. This is going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people. And I don't think anyone on this channel that's been watching this channel is, again, not surprised. And I think everybody here will be fine because we've been waiting for this. This is something that was bound to happen. We didn't know it was going to happen like this, that it was going to be tariffs that kind of kicked this whole thing off. Just like back in 2020, no one knew it was going to be a health crisis that made it to where people were going to be going out and getting goods and items and products. So they were concerned, they were worried. And what do we see out of that? Well, we saw, again, all the stimulus, all the inflationary measures, and we could see that on steroids this time. If not, you're going to see something possibly even worse. A lot of starving people, a lot of people ending up on the streets, losing their houses, not being able to pay their rents, getting evicted, stuff like that. It could be the beginning of something pretty massive, right? So let me know what you think about all this down in comments. The predictions of empty shelves we've talked about here. Target and Walmart have made that case that prepare for empty shelves here. We've talked about those several times in the past few months. Strikes are ongoing. More strikes. Here's another one. Los Angeles County workers march in downtown LA as part of a 2-day strike. Oh, got it muted, sorry.
I'm Michael Brownlee.
And I'm Colleen Williams. The workers want better pay, but the county says it just doesn't have the money. Thousands of people took to the streets of downtown LA in a display of solidarity as they look to put pressure on the county for a new contract. More than a dozen people were arrested.
So how will the strike impact you? Non-urgent clinics are closed, as well as everything from LA County libraries to some
streets.
It's unprecedented. It's historic. It's here to send a message to the
that first started Monday night continued into the morning hours, organized by the union SEIU Local 721, shutting down traffic and streets.
It's unprecedented. It's historic. It's here to send a message to the county that we mean business and that public sector workers deserve a voice.
Organizers say they are demanding improved jobs, say they hope their message is heard.
And everybody here...
Folks, I mean, again, it had to happen. People are demanding higher wages because the cost of living is not coming down. Slowing inflation is not going to fix anything. It's not going to help anything, right? It's not as bad as prices going up higher, but anytime prices are still going up at these price levels, it's a crisis. The crisis is here today, not tomorrow, not next week. So for those people saying nothing ever happens, nothing's ever going to change, folks, things are changing every day. Just tune in. And we have new news for you every day, just like this. Every day, new crazy stuff happening. Please make sure you are subscribed. I'll be reading your comments. Please let me know what you think about this down below, everybody. As always, keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.